Okay. It says we're live.
Let me go.
Hopefully everything stays good. I was a little worried or starting to get concerned because I can't remember if it was one day last week. Maybe that was Friday.
We sound good, by the way.
Good. The internet was being all goofy for like no reason. That must have been Friday. But thankfully, I think it was just like a little thing. I don't know exactly what was going on, but
I hear you on that, man. That's always the worst.
Well, Joseph,
I'm just laughing at your thumbnail. I'm sorry.
Is it
I'm
not,
just
dude?
Distracted by that,
dude. Harrison Ford doing that is going to be in literally every. I'm just putting him in all of them for a while. It's going to be
just a fantastic compilation of characters you have up there. It is. He's definitely the star of that graph.
Oh, for sure. I needed something where he would stand out. And I had, I made it a couple weeks ago before we had to reschedule everything. And so I'm sure as I go through like news stories and stuff. Victor, what's up, dude? Sorry.
What's up, man?
We've been in the process of trying to figure the show out. So thank you for being patient. Clicked the notification so fast. For real, dude, we appreciate it.
Yeah, we really do appreciate it.
Yeah, so when I put the thumbnail together, I was trying to figure out, it's like I was basing it off like, oh, well, we're going to talk about this and we're going to talk about this. And now I don't even...
Shogun pretty much swept at the latest award shows. Which one was that? The SAG-AFTRA, not the Oscars,
bro. Well, yeah, the Emmys, right? Would have been the big one for, I don't know, man. There's so many award shows these days. It's hard to keep up with everything.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. How about that new Captain America movie?
Oh, okay, here we go. The new Captain America movie. We talked about that, didn't we?
I know, but you got is that Captain? Oh no, that's that dude from Thunderbolts. I'm sorry.
It's the Thunderbolts. He was Captain America.
Yeah.
He's the guy that Disney tried to make out to be a villain, but he's actually just like a pretty good dude. So who knows what they're gonna do in Thunderbolts to him? But they all look super excited to be in that movie.
Right. Have you watched? Oh wait, Victor says I'm excited for Zelda gameplay. I never played Ocarina of Time, so I'll watch your stream on it.
Yeah, nice. Dude, it's gonna happen. I'm sorry. Every time I'm like, I'm ready to do it, I'm like, I have a headache, or I'm like, I'm ready to do it, and something else happens. But yes.
Did you see the new Daredevil, by the way?
No, and neither did anybody else. I don't know if you saw the news about that.
No.
So allegedly, in roughly, I wish, did I save that story? I know they were talking about it earlier. I know I saved it. Oh, here it is. Yeah. So Daredevil Born Again launches with 7.5 million viewers on Disney Plus.
Wow.
Which is not good because the first episode of the Marvel show Agatha All Along hit 9.3 million views in its first week. And Daredevil is, I think, at this point, like a little bit lower than that.
Yeah, that's bad.
So, and I haven't watched it yet.
Heard good things.
I have heard things. A lot of it I don't think I'm going to be happy about.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah. And I still need to watch it. But every time I sit down and I'm like, oh, I should finally watch it, I'm like, man, I love those first 3 seasons. And so it's like, do I watch it? Like, do I really need more of that? That's why I want to play Ocarina of Time. I feel like I'm morphing into this. I mean, it's kind of been the case for a while now, but I'm like, oh man, I kind of just want to watch like old movies, and now I'm thinking like, maybe I just want to play like old video games. Though I've been playing Monster Hunter Wilds, and I've been really enjoying it, so it's not 100%. But there is this itch that I've got where I'm like, man, I want to go back and like revisit a bunch of stuff. And Ocarina of Time was like first on the list, so I spent like 2 hours a couple weeks ago just trying to figure out how to get this like I think it's like 1080 60 frames version of the game running on my computer. And so it runs really well. I beat the first dungeon. I'm just kind of messing around with it. And I'm like, okay. I'm definitely going to stream this, but I just got to find time to do it. And I've been doing a bunch of other stuff outside of internet world, so it's been making things a little bit difficult. But it is going to happen. It is going to.
Yeah, we've been in the same boat playing old stuff and watching old movies. I mean, actually, funny enough, though, we've been playing the last 2 Zelda games a lot, and so we haven't really been watching any television. Yeah. But I'm really eager to see the new classic Die Hard movie, Cleaner.
Bro, am I allowed to spoil something in that? I don't think anybody cares. I don't even know if a lot of people know what Cleaner is.
Spoilers for the ever popular movie that just came out, Cleaners. You've probably seen it everywhere, so we don't want to ruin it for you. So spoilers for me.
Spoilers. So Clive Owen is billed, like at least in like the trailer, as the main antagonist of that story.
Yep.
And he dies in like the first 10 minutes.
Yep. Probably for the best for him.
Yeah, he was probably like, oh no.
He was just used for marketing.
Whoa. What's up, Jenna? Yeah, I guess so. I mean, like, Clive Owen is just not. He hasn't been doing much,
Dude, he's been the Cleaner.
But yeah, man, trying to
Jenna,
think.
we've been here, we've been there, we've been everywhere.
We've been everywhere. We're not going anywhere. Just
we just had to work out some kinks.
Yeah, there's just stuff that happens sometimes. Justin and I were talking about it.
We had a fight, and
like all married couples. No, we just it's like work schedule stuff and trying to make sure that we have an idea of what we want to do moving forward. I don't like meetings, and so I hate any sort of like long period of time where I have to sit down and like talk about work, because I always feel like you end up talking so much and then you're like, did we actually accomplish anything in that? Right. Which was not this. We just talked about random crap and then talked about what we needed to for like 10 minutes, and we're like, all right, sounds good.
Pretty much.
But yeah, man.
But yeah, it's just life, things changing in life. So we had to work out the kinks of, we really want to, for you guys to know consistently when we're doing the show, and obviously things in life are going to come up, and everything like that, but more consistently having the show. Which is why we're here on Tuesday nights at 7 now.
Yeah. The stream is apparently buffering a little bit. No, not enough
I'm not
video.
seeing anything on my end.
All right. Y'all let me know if you're having any problems. There's not really much I can do about it. It looks like it's a YouTube thing, but
the buffering could be on Harrison Ford's belly, and I just could not be seeing it because it's so white.
It's like the anti-buffer thing, so you don't even know what's happening. It's like, wait, where's the circle? But yeah, man, I bought the Prestige on 4K and watched that and was like, remember when they made movies?
Right.
Remember when people actually cared about like characters and plot?
But bro, have you seen Emilia Perez? It's the most nominated Oscar movie now.
Yeah.
Oscars mean everything, David.
Bro, I have only seen, I think, 2 of the Oscar-nominated movies from this year.
The Brutalist and Emilia Perez?
No, I saw... What did I watch? The Substance, which I liked, but we'll probably never watch again. Like, it's kind of a oh yeah, that was pretty cool. And you're like, man, I don't.
Is it kind of like a Schindler's List movie, or like, oh, I've seen it, it's all right?
No, no. Well, no, I would not compare it to Schindler's List, because it's more like I'm trying to think of an example of something you might know.
I just mean like to where it's so gruesome. It's like it's a good movie.
It's
rewatchability isn't high. You're not gonna have
American
Schindler's
History
List on the
X is
background.
the one I go to a lot for that. That American History X is not a movie that I would spend multiple viewings on. I maybe in like 10 years it's like, oh yeah, The Substance, like let me see if I still feel the same way about it, you know what I mean? But it's cool. I mean, like it's really gross, but it's kind of cool to see a movie like that kind of get some recognition, instead of like genre type stuff sort of getting pushed to the side. So yeah, that was all right. And I saw Nora, which is not very good.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's.
I wasn't surprised.
Yeah, it was like it's just kind of about a prostitute. That's it.
Pretty much what the plot was.
Yeah, like it's not. It's kind of nothing, which was
what intrigued you to watch it.
A couple people said it's like they thought it was like the best thing from the Oscars, and I was like, I don't know about that. And I watched it, and I was like, nah.
Yep.
So yeah, nah, I can't recommend. But then I do want to see Emilia Perez a little bit, but I kind of already know what happens.
Same, but I don't want to see it.
The ending is like hilarious. And then I haven't heard good things about anything else that got nominated. It's variations of like, to like, nah, it wasn't very good. Which seems to be the case.
I'm disappointed because I've only heard bad things about Mickey 17, and I really wanted to.
I know. I'm not even gonna. I'm not even gonna bother at this point. I don't.
Because it's like everyone I trust is saying that. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna. I'll watch it on streaming, or if I got to rent it or something for like $2 or whatever. Fine. But now it's like I'm not gonna go to the theater to see it.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't seem like it's worth the trip, unfortunately. But I did see The Monkey. It's based on a Stephen King short, and it was all right. It's probably one of the best movies I've seen so far this year, which is not, we're in March, so it's not saying much. But it's pretty wacky and just it's kind of like if Final Destination was supposed to be funny.
Yeah.
So you're not like, oh no, the poor teenagers. It's like everybody's just getting like blown to bits or whatever. So it's got there's a ladybug in my room. Sorry. Yeah, it's just it really sets the tone from the very beginning and the way that it's shot. So Adam Scott, the guy from Parks and Rec.
Yep.
So he plays like the dad. And the movie's got a number of problems, but it's not the kind of movie that I would spend a lot of time on the details.
Right.
Because it's like
you're not going to do a granular review.
Yeah. Like I just don't have like. It doesn't make a lot of sense to do that. Yeah, but like Adam Scott like goes and he's panicked and he's covered in blood, and he runs into this pawn shop to try to sell this monkey. And the movie's got this sort of like it's very well done. It's another example I think of movies you don't see very often because the camera work and the actors' expressions are doing a lot of the lifting for this kind of stuff, and they're not just being, like he does. He's like, oh, this monkey's evil or whatever, but like you're watching it, and it's kind of got this like, oh, like what's gonna happen, and it's tense, but they're also playing it kind of comedic. And it's a really good blend, and it doesn't hold up throughout the entire movie. It's got some slow areas in it, especially towards the end. I think the pacing could have been just a little bit tighter in some places. Because really, once you get to, and I'm trying not to spoil anything, once you get to like a specific part of the movie, something happens to, I think it's his aunt, like the main character. So like all of these deaths are like happening around him and his twin brother throughout the movie. And then there's a specific scene with his aunt a little bit later on. And at that point, you're kind of like, oh, okay, like I definitely get what they're going for with this. Joseph, it's also, I have not laughed out loud at sort of like a comedic bit in a movie in a long time, like especially something new.
Oh, nice.
And Justin,
they're hard to find.
Justin, friend of the show, we both like, it's kind of like this weird thing where like, and again, I'm keeping this as spoiler free as possible. Something happens, and it's so like, what? That it just, dude, I couldn't stop laughing. So it's a lot of like gag humor. But it's definitely not for everybody, especially if the gore doesn't do it for you. But it's all done in such like a comedic way that we're not doing Saw here. We're doing like almost like old school James Gunn.
Yep.
Where he had kind of a similar style. Though I think this is actually maybe even funnier than some of Gunn's old stuff. And it's weird because it's the guy that directed it. I think he helped write it too. Because they had to flesh out the script because it's just a short story. He did the movie with Nick Cage that I talked about a couple weeks ago. It's like on the tip of my tongue. Holy moly. Long Legs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was the director of I don't know if he wrote Long Legs, but he definitely directed it. But he did something interesting. There's actually like an end credit scene at the end of the movie, and it's a trailer for the guy's next movie. And I was kind of like, that's kind of cool. Like, you're doing something kind of interesting with what used to be like sequel bait, for like Marvel movies.
Yeah.
But he's like, I'm just going to put the trailer for like a teaser trailer for my next movie at the end of this one. And it's like,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was like, that's kind of a cool thing. I don't know if I forget the guy's name. Oswald Chambers, maybe.
Oswald Cobblepot.
Yeah, right. But the guy who directed it, I'm Perkins. I'm close. I'm close. Oswald Perkins, maybe. Let's see. The Monkey. Directed by Oz Perkins, but I think it's Oswald Perkins. I recognize this guy from something.
Oswald Perkins.
Huh. Anyway, yeah, so probably, I mean, it's out of the theater at this point anyway. But it was a good little watch, like, it's definitely a recommend if it's like something that interests you, and if it's not, it's just not going to do anything for you. It's just one of those movies. But yeah, I honestly, dude, it could do a whole podcast just talking about The Prestige at this point.
Dude, this is such a good movie. I really have to watch that movie again.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, it's just shocking how it's weird to say like it's normal. I don't know if that's really the right phrase to use, but it definitely, there's a bit of nostalgia in it as far as like, yeah, things used to be a little bit better. Quality used to be there. It's this weird thing that I've noticed that's happened is that there's a lot of these like kind of indie directors, these guys that are working on smaller movies who after like 2 maybe 3 movies, they get tapped to direct like these massive like multi-million dollar, or I mean like $100 million plus blockbusters.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of start doing that. And then you're never going to get like a smaller movie from them again. And I hate that.
Unfortunate how things have gone.
Yeah, like it's the way that it used to work. And I mean, I guess you could say like Tarantino stuff is definitely, his budgets have gone up over the years. But if you go and you watch his movies from like the beginning until Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, there's like a really good consistency with his stuff. Like it's always a little bit different, and he's got sort of his like staples for the way that he makes movies. But he's never going to make Captain America.
Yeah.
He's not going to do Godzilla. And there's always these guys that they come out of making some like interesting stuff. And then someone taps them to like, because I think, is it Alex Garland? I'm trying to remember. I'm having to remember so many people's names today. Alex Garland. I can't remember if it's him or not. Yeah, it is. So he, I believe, is doing 28 Years Later. He did Ex Machina, which a lot of people liked. Annihilation, which is like kind of interesting, but it's got a lot of problems. And then he did Civil War. I think it was last year, which people were like, nah. He's done a couple other movies, but nothing of like, huge prominence. He wrote the screenplay for Dredd.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so like
that's good.
Yeah, he's a pretty talented guy. I would say like Dredd, Ex Machina, and then like even Annihilation. Like whether you like Annihilation or not, there's like stuff in it that people are like remember. And so like he also did this movie called Sunshine, which is I don't know if you ever saw that. That was Chris Hemsworth. No, not Chris Hemsworth. The guy that played Captain America. His name's Chris Evans. That was like an early role for him. And it's pretty good. It's like a group of astronauts who were trying to restart the sun. And it, especially by today's standards, I'm sure you watch it and be like, yeah, like what, like where did this all go? You saw Netflix Twilight of the Gods? No, I never saw that. Isn't Twilight of the Gods that
that's
Zack
from,
Snyder?
Zack
Snyder. So we I think Joseph and I have had enough Zack Snyder for maybe the rest of our lives at this point.
Yeah. Don't make me watch it.
So he's like, so he may not be the best example because he hasn't quite been tapped for anything massive. Like he's still kind of doing his like smaller projects. But there's a lot of guys like him that ended up going on to make these like big sorry, I'm trying to get you a name. These like bigger projects.
Yep.
After a couple like decent smaller movies, indie or not, they're not so like I think, let me make sure I'm right about this. Yep. Okay, so Adam Wingard, he directed a couple movies I really like, You're Next and The Guest. And then he directed Godzilla Cross Kong, New Empire. So he went from a couple movies that are like thrillers to big monkey beat up big lizard. Dude, I forgot he did Death Note. That was not very good. But yeah, he's had some like decent successes, but they were pretty small. Like Your Next came out in 2011 and The Guest was 2014. He did like a reboot for Blair Witch. He did Death Note, and then they're like, "Hey, do you want to direct these massive like CGI fest movies?" And it's a weird thing, but I have to imagine they just put a pretty big paycheck in front of him, and they were like, "What do you think?" He's like,
"Yeah, right.
Yeah, sure, why not?" Like I get
mean,
it.
I'm sure that happens a ton. I mean, it's like we were talking about with Amazon buying out the lady that owns 007.
Broccoli. I know that's not how you say her name, but I still want to say Broccoli.
Yeah,
Barbara Broccoli.
Yeah, Broccoli Barb. That's what we're gonna call her. That has a better ring.
Good old BB.
Well, Broccoli Barb, I think she can take it now that she's a billionaire. I think she'll be fine.
I think she'll be fine. Yeah, and
Broccoli Barb, the billionaire. Broccoli Barb, billionaire. Yeah. BBB.
BBB. Build Back Better. Oh, no. What have we discovered?
No. Build Back Better 007.
But yeah, it's just going to, 007 is just going to turn into slop, just like everything else. It was already kind of headed in that direction. And then you got that announcement. It sounds like their plan is to attempt to like make it's everybody's still trying to do this universe thing.
Yep.
They're all still trying to.
We're about to get that 007 universe.
Yeah, and it's like I don't know.
Let it die.
Yeah, I agree. It's time to go back to like
more respectable films,
just go back to
doing
trilogies.
Animated Disney movies.
Yeah, put out single superhero movies with your like to see what lands. And we'll always get Batmans, we'll always get Spider-Mans. We'll see how Superman holds up after
what was that movie?
Huh?
We watched there's that one movie we watched a few years ago, I think actually during COVID, was Love and Monsters.
It never got a sequel, and I'm so sad about it, dude.
Like, it was a good movie.
It's a good movie. It's a solid, like, 7, 8.
Yep.
And I was so...
It was worth a sequel.
Yeah, and I don't think we're ever going to get one. Another one that I need to go back and watch that I liked the first time I saw it was around the same time was The Kid Detective. Really small, like, indie movie about this like 30-something who is still trying to be like this private eye in a small town, and so it's a bit of a, you could say, like a coming of age story, right? Like he's just going through all of this, and it's pretty good. And I remember really liking it, but I have not taken the time to go back and watch it again. But that might get moved up my list a little bit. But yeah, man.
Baby Driver's another one, dude.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Oh, and now that was one of the things that got me thinking about these guys who were doing kind of their own thing, and now they're just doing these like, they're like locking into these, you could call them like sure things, but the guy Edgar Wright is doing The Running Man. It's like I'm sure you heard about that. So it's like the old Arnold Schwarzenegger movie that nobody really talks about. And I'm just kind of thinking to myself, like, dude,
I've never even heard it before this movie.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a movie. It's kind of not necessarily forgotten, but you could kind of call it a forgotten film to some degree. Like when you think of Schwarzenegger, The Running Man is typically not going to be at the top of your list. And so now he's doing that, and I was like, I like him. I mean, as long as as long as Edgar Wright's not writing the story, he kind of went really hard on that with Last Night in Soho, which is, I think, the last movie he put out, and that movie wasn't that good. It looks really good, and Edgar Wright.
Isn't this the same thing as The Running Man? Isn't that the same thing as that Stone Cold Steve Austin?
I think it's a
movie?
similar, yeah. Not The Island.
Death Island or something.
Yeah, it's
like that.
Hunger Games was that. Battle Royale was that before all of those. Well, I guess Running Man technically came first, but yeah. So like,
cool.
I think it's but I think Running Man's like a game show, but you can get killed in the game show. Whereas like a lot of that other stuff, Running Man was Stephen King's story. It was a Stephen King story. I didn't know that.
Yep, I was about to say the writers on it is Edgar Wright, Stephen King, and Michael Bacall.
Has lots of potential. I hope so. I wish Edgar Wright.
That was a good joke, man.
I totally missed it. I'm sorry. I was reading the Troll Room.
I said another writer was Michael Bacall or Bacall.
I think I was better off reading the Troll Room.
Come on. That's a top 10 dad joke right there.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it could be good. The real point of it is like there are directors that I just want to see them do not
the Rings of Power.
Yeah, well, not stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe The Running Man's going to end up being an exception. Maybe the movie will end up being awesome. We won't know. I think it's supposed to come out next year. I think it's got a release for next year. So we'll see. I mean, I still like Edgar Wright. I think he kind of keeps to himself for the most part, you know? Like he's not out there on social media being like awful to people. At least I don't remember that being the case. Though Last Night in Soho didn't really make waves. But he's another guy, man, that like, you know, he puts out Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, At World's End.
It's natural to have some misses, but are you trying to relay that his latest movies have been more misses than hits?
I mean, they just haven't been quite as
up the snuff as
solid. Yeah. I mean, especially Hot Fuzz, man. Like,
oh yeah,
that is.
Sometimes you just catch lightning in a bottle, man. It's
yeah, I guess so.
You know, it's different. It's like this.
I
liken it to sports. If anybody watches college football, you'll get this. It's like, you know, there's some coaches like Ed Orgeron, who used to be the head coach of LSU, who peaked one year and won the national championship, which that's really hard to do. Don't get me wrong, extremely hard to do. But then there's other coaches, the current head coach of LSU, Brian Kelly, who has sustained 10-win seasons, but he's never really won like a big bowl game or a big national championship. But it's really hard when you get to a certain level to sustain success. Like when you look at UGA or Alabama or Ohio State, it's different to get to a level, but then to stay there. And with directors, maybe that's the thing. I mean, because even when you look at Peter Jackson, man, and you look at his movies after the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I mean, you know, it's not the
talk about lightning in a bottle with that whole
and he's
thing.
My favorite director, so I'm just trying to be honest.
You know, I think it's so. Granted, it's not original, which I don't care, but it's probably Quentin Tarantino for me. If I'm going like,
bro, no way.
No, well. Yeah,
he
dude.
was an executive producer on War of the Hero and Peter Jackson. There ain't no way. They just said that to put his name on there.
That's all that is, really. You know, I'm sure maybe because his name holds sway. So whether they might have paid him for that, or who knows exactly what was going on for him to get his name on that.
He was a producer in District 9. That was a good movie.
That was a good movie. Never got a sequel to that either. Still waiting for that.
Unfortunately, dude.
And maybe it's for the best at this point. You know, it's like I think we've talked about this before with Dredd, but that is probably better off without a sequel at this point. Sean Baker will be handed
the Hobbit trilogies.
Big paycheck.
Have like basically 7.5 stars on IMDb.
That's too high,
bro. What?
IMDb is weird though, dude. Because it's like user aggregated. There's some weird stuff on there. They're like their top 250 or whatever is just kind of some of the strangest stuff ends up really high on there because of like a lot of it's recency bias. I've
noticed that.
So
as well.
Some of it's like I don't really know. I wouldn't take it as like this movie is better than this movie. Because it's like a group of people who enough of them rated this at like an 8 versus something else that's like at a 7.8, but the 7.8 is definitely the better movie.
We'll have to
very
do
strange.
like watch his filmography one day, like go through all of them. That would be
who
possibly interesting. Peter Jackson.
Oh, bro, some of his stuff. I've seen. Hang on.
Have you seen King Kong? I haven't seen his.
You've never seen King Kong?
Never seen.
What? King Kong. That's crazy, dude.
You want to know what I watched for the first time last year after Christmas?
Huh?
Die Hard. I've never seen it before until 2024 of last year. Maybe I watched it. Yep.
That's nuts. I feel like you have been purposely not telling me that for many years now. We would have watched it. We would have watched it like years ago had that been the case.
Well, if it's fair, I didn't finish it, so not because it was bad or anything like that. I just didn't get a chance to. I only got through the first like 30 minutes before we had to go and do something, and then I never got back to it.
Joseph, you need to finish Die Hard before the next podcast.
Okay. And we'll talk about it. I know people are crazy.
Regardless of whether we talk about it or not, you must finish Die Hard before the next podcast. Okay,
probably like the most controversial thing about me doing a film review podcast is I've never seen.
Honestly though,
Die Hard.
Everybody has holes in their. Everybody does. Everybody has holes in their watches. There's quite a few things that like I have either not seen or I haven't seen all the way through, or like the mood hasn't struck me. Right. So it happens to everybody, and there's like a lot of it. But this is something I'm trying to remedy to some degree. I was thinking about this yesterday, because we're going to talk about it for a little bit on this episode. We won't get through the whole thing. Thought it might be fun to just like talk about it in little like bite-sized pieces during the episode. Like I'm working on this list of 100 movies for your normie friends, basically. And I'm at like 51 right now. So this could be fun if anybody has suggestions and I'm like, ooh, yes, I actually agree with that as a suggestion. Then maybe I'll put it on here. So the point of the list is not to pick like a movie necessarily because it is in like high regard in like critic type circles, or it's not going to necessarily be something that's high cinema, if you will. It's a mix of classics but stuff that's like easily digestible. Like someone came to me recently and was like, I want to like watch more movies, like they're interested in film, the whole deal, and they were like, I don't really know where to start. And I think I've talked about it on the show before, but they were like, maybe I should just start with the Marvel movies. And I was like, don't do that. I was like, there's nothing wrong with those. And I was like, and some of them I actually do really like. I think some of them are actually good movies, stand on their own for the most part. But if you're really wanting to get into it, like there is such a huge library of stuff. And we had talked about how, especially as generations are starting to come up behind us, particularly, they just have, this is not a thing for them. They have 100 million things vying for their attention, and sitting in front of a television for 2 hours watching one specific thing is not the most popular pastime for the Gen Z, the alphas. So I have this list, and I guess we can talk about it a little bit. What do we have?
Before you begin, if anybody, I was thinking about this yesterday. If anybody ever asked me, hey, I want to get into Star Wars, what's the first thing I should watch? What was that show that came out recently? Not Agatha All Along. That's the Marvel show.
Oh, The Acolyte?
What's the other one? The Acolyte. That's it.
Oh, bro.
I would say start there, because your expectations would be set so low.
Star Wars is such a fascinating thing to me. At this point,
because the only good part of Star Wars is the original trilogy.
As far as I'm concerned,
for me,
I'm sympathetic to the people who like the prequels. I think it's in a similar vein to the Hobbit movies.
Yeah.
There are things to like about them, but they're just kind of they were a bad idea, I guess, is the best way to put it. You could have done a Hobbit movie and maybe a part 1 and a part 2, but they degrade, like, and now it's not really the case for the prequel trilogy, because typically people will tell you that Clone Wars is the worst one. Like, I think it's a high percentage of people who would tell you, like, if it's like, oh, do you like the prequels? It's like, yeah, all right, which one's the worst one? They're going to tell you Clone Wars. And then probably, it's really interesting to me, because it's typically that Revenge of the Sith is the best one. People tolerate Phantom Menace because of the last, like, 20 minutes of that movie. Pretty much just the Darth Maul fight, and maybe just Darth Maul in general. And then Revenge of the Sith being the best one. And again, that's mostly because of, like, the fight in that. I don't know. I watched those back when Rise of Skywalker was about to release. I just went through all of the Star Wars movies, made it, and then got all the way to The Last Jedi, and got about halfway through it and was like, I don't want to watch this anymore. It's not, man. That is, I will never watch The Last Jedi again. I don't think there's no point anymore.
There's not.
Everyone is firmly in their camps, and at this point, I don't know if anyone's moving out of those camps, especially not in the direction of, actually, it was pretty good. But yeah, right. So, Joseph, let's do this.
David.
Can I mark a note on these that we've talked about that one? Oh, yes, I can. Okay, cool. Give me a number. So these aren't in a specific, like, order necessarily. I'm going to kind of mess with the order just a little bit in certain places. But I have 1 through 51 done. I'm trying to get to 100. But I want you to give me a number 1 through 51, and I'll tell you what the name of the movie is.
Okay. So you just want me to guess what order it is?
No. I just want you to give me a number 1 through 1. It's the only fair way to talk about these that's not in.
Okay, so you just want me to do number, and then you'll talk about that.
I'll tell you what movie it is, and then you can
7.
Ooh, that's crazy. 7 is The Prestige. I'm not even joking. It was a little bit lower, and then after watching it again last week, I was like, nope, it needs that specifically needs to be higher on the list. I still need to sit down and finally, I might do that tomorrow if I've got time. Inception is the other Nolan movie that I kind of want to put on the list, but I want to watch it again because it's been a few years. Like, it's just not real fresh in my memory. And because I'm stuck between the two of those as what, and I need to see Oppenheimer at this point. I still haven't watched it. I'm headed in that direction, though. I'm sort of not fully on a Nolan, like, kick, like, trying to go back and watch a bunch of his stuff, because I'll never watch Tenet again, I don't think, unless for some reason I need to defend how awful that movie is. But I don't think I need to do that. I think it's pretty well, like, people were just like, this wasn't it. It was just a big miss on his part. But yeah, it's definitely The Prestige. We've talked about it before. And you'll have to watch it, because I think I really think you'll just, like, be there. I'm not going to spoil anything, because this really is a movie, like, if you've never seen it, you need to go in blind. It's just as good if you know what's going on as if you don't.
Okay.
But if it's a first time watching it, you are in a much better position not having any idea the sort of underbelly of the movie, because you have what you're seeing in front of you and then the other part of the plot that you really don't know about until the very end of the movie. It's the way that it's written is just, it's excellent. It's complicated, but it's not stupid. And the themes line up. My themes line up directly with what's going on in the movie. So, one of the things about that's like a really a big point in it, because it's about magicians, about guys who stand up in front of these crowds and they're trying to wow them. There's competition between two of these magicians, and the rivalry stems from a number of different things, and it goes to like some dark places with that, and then also like what it takes to be the best and what you're willing to do to sort of keep that that persona intact of like who you are, like what, you know, they talk about like they don't these guys will like sell their best tricks or whatever, and so one of the reasons that you want to try to become a magician is because if you can create a trick that no one else knows how to do, you can sell it for a lot of money, or you can also just be pretty wealthy yourself. But it's like these guys are trying to take it to that like next level, and there's a lot of stuff you won't find out. And then like Christian Bale's character comes up with this trick, and it's sort of the driving force for a good portion of the movie, and the obsession that his rival's going to try to like one up him all the time.
Yep.
And it, dude, I love The Prestige. I love it.
It's so funny. I said 7, and it was, that's where it was at on your list.
Yep. Okay. Let's do another one.
All right.
1 through 51, but not 7, because we've talked about it.
Okay. You know what? Let's give the people what they want.
Okay.
Number one.
So we'll do this because 1 through 3 is a trilogy.
Okay.
It's a very obvious choice to put at the top of the list, but it is the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Specifically the extended cuts, like if you're going to watch them, and you and I have talked about this so much at this point, but if you're going to watch these movies, you need to take the time to just watch the extended cuts.
Yep.
It's how you get the most out of the story. It's how the story, especially in this form, makes the most sense. And then, so obviously, like Fellowship is number 1, and then Two Towers, and then Return of the King.
Right.
I have always been partial, personally, to the Fellowship of the Ring.
Yep.
But all 3 of these movies are incredible, and there's a lot of stuff in Return of the King that at some point in life could convince me that it, is the one I like more. But I Fellowship, it's a nostalgia thing to some degree as far as that being the one that I'm partial to, because I saw it in theaters when I was a kid, and it was, I think, when did Fellowship come out? 2001, so I would have been 12. So
Dang, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And that
would have been like 8 or 9.
I know. And a friend of mine at the time, it's like I saw Harry Potter with him, and I had like this group of friends.
How old are you?
36.
36. Okay, so I would have been 10 then.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And so, I saw it in theater and was just sucked in from moment one, and I don't know if 12-year-olds these days could do that. You know what I mean? I don't know what the attention spans are like. The the old person thing to do is to be like, oh, these kids nowadays, they don't have any understanding of this stuff. It's like they're just on their TikToks all day long. But this is, I mean, that wasn't these were theatrical cuts at the time because the extended editions didn't come out till later. Right. But just being blown away by that movie as like a 12-year-old, and you're sitting in the theater and you're like, this is incredible. And like, I've seen Star Wars, I've seen Indiana Jones. I'm pretty sure, I think Harry Potter might have come out before this. My memory's a little bit fuzzy on that. But you're just like, what did I just watch? I mean, the whole ending of that movie, Boromir dying, and like, everybody's getting split up, and you're sitting there and you're like, holy crap. And then it ends and you're like, wait, there's more of this?
I think it's going to end at a certain point, and it doesn't, and it keeps on going.
Mm-hmm. And you're just like, okay, I hooked from the beginning. What a special time in movie history was that Lord of the Rings trilogy. And I know some people still aren't fans, and that Tolkien wouldn't have been a fan of it. It's okay. It's okay. I still love them. I still think they're excellent. And no list of 100 movies that someone needs to watch to sort of like understand, not just like, it's not really just about understanding like filmmaking, but it's like, these are some of the movies, like this is stuff that you need to watch because there's so much that was influenced by it, or some of it's just like, this was stuff that was like crazy influential to me growing up in different ways. And some of the like best writing, like really tight scripts, really interesting characters. So yeah, that trilogy's on there. It's crazy to me how many people, dude, have never watched those movies.
It is wild. I've never had the pleasure to see them in the movie theater.
Really?
Yeah,
bro, you need
to experience that.
when you finally get out of the Great White North, they pretty regularly re-release them in theaters.
Maybe I'll make enough money to where I can get a movie theater to play them.
There you go. But yeah, that it happened last year. I almost went to go see them, but they are very long, and I only have so much time in my day. And like, when I can just watch them at home, it's like, because if I'm going to do it, I need to see all three of them. And then what they do is they do like one a day for like 3 days, or they'll do one a week for 3 weeks. And so you're kind of like, man, that's like my Tuesday for the next month.
Yeah, right.
So it's sort of like, oh man, like I could be at home with my dog, ordering food or something, and I don't have to go to the theater to do it. But yeah. All right. How much time do we have? All right, Joseph, one more.
Okay. 51.
51. What is it, 51? Oh, okay. So 51 I just added today. I've been meaning to add it for a while. And it is a little comedy called Office Space.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
It is, yeah, I honestly, man, it's like, one of the reasons it's on here is because there are a lot of like classic, you could say memes at this point, but it's like, oh, my stapler, and then like the guy's beating up the printer out in the middle of this field with a baseball bat, I think to Beastie Boys. It's been a little while. And so one of the things about a lot of this list is that it's stuff that I'm like, ooh, some of it stemmed from wanting a physical copy library that is like just excellent and kind of curated to some degree, Yeah. And so that's one of the other things. So a lot of the stuff that's on this list is either stuff that I already have, or stuff that I want to put in my collection. Is that on here? So yeah, there's not going to be a lot of really, really obscure stuff on here. Like, you're probably not going to be surprised by most of what's on here. But that's crazy, dude. I guess I'm just gonna have to send you this list, because I'm curious what else is on here that you haven't seen.
I know Office Space. Now that I'm looking at it, I can't believe I haven't seen this.
You should watch it.
There's one scene in here that looks familiar.
Yeah, well, it's like it gets memed a lot. There's a scene where the guys who like work for this company, I think they're trying to figure out like what everybody does in the company.
Right.
They're trying to make like cuts, and so that scene's like really. Seems really famous. I need to go back and watch it too, man. It's a little rough on my memory, but somebody I work with, it was either last week or week before, they were like, "Oh, the stapler," and I was like, Office Space needs to be on that list. So I was like, okay, I got to put it on there. But yeah, man. Let me make sure that I make a note that we talked about these. So I'm hoping that we that I can get the rest of this list done. Getting to 50 was easy. It's filling in the rest with like quality stuff that isn't
That's
just
difficult.
Yeah. So there's some stuff on here that like the Lord of the Rings is like the only trilogy, the full trilogy that I've got on there. But no, it's not true. There is one other trilogy, but I won't talk about it yet. We'll save it for another show. I'm trying to wait to use those to fill in the gaps. If I get to a point where I'm like, man, I really need to, like, if it's more about kind of getting to 100, it's sort of like, well, you obviously should be watching this whole, like, all three of these, or both of these. There's a couple like sequels on there. Because sometimes, like, a few of them, I would probably argue that the sequels are better, but it's like you kind of need to see that. Like, the first one's good, if not amazing, and you kind of need to see it before you watch the sequel, and then never watch anything that potentially came after that. So that happens a lot. Or, hey, here's this trilogy, don't watch anything after this. And if you do, that's on you. that's your decision. But it's not stuff that I would necessarily recommend for like a top 100. So yeah, man, it's been fun.
That is fun, dude.
And just
I'll have to make me a list eventually.
Yeah, dude. The IMDb top 250 has helped with my memory a little bit. Like, yeah, that definitely needs to be on there. And it's also cool because, like I was saying, there's stuff on IMDb's top 250 that I've never seen. And I think that's kind of cool. Some of this stuff's hard to find though, and when I'm sort of like, well, dang, like I want to watch this, but I sort of want to get a physical copy of it. It's getting hard to find some of these on physical copy that aren't on eBay for like $50.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like 12 Angry Men is in the top 5 of IMDb's top 250, and I've never seen it.
You never seen 12 Angry Men? Dang. If it's the movie I'm thinking of, I believe I've seen it.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's.
Yeah. 12 Angry Men. Yeah, I saw it. I think I saw it last year, the year before last, for the first time. Kayla made me watch it.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest I haven't seen, with Jack Nicholson. That was something I was actually supposed to watch in high school. One of my professors was like, "Oh, this would be a great movie for us to watch and like talk about," because it was something we were talking about was like important to that, and then we never ended up doing it. But like this, Interstellar is number 19 on their top 250. And I'm like, that's just too high. Like, it's too high for that movie. I've never seen City of God, which is I think it's a drama about Rio de Janeiro.
Yeah, but I've seen that one. That's another one Kayla made me watch.
Let's see what else is on here that I haven't seen. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to find stuff on here that like people might actually recognize. The Usual Suspects. I am actually in the process of watching that. Chinatown on my list. Is that, you mean like big? Wait, hold on. Chinatown is not on my list. I'm not even sure if I've actually ever seen that, unless you're talking about Big Trouble. Wait. Chinatown. Oh. Have I never seen this? I have never seen this. Okay. Well, I don't know if it's going on the list, but it's definitely going on my list of movies to watch. Thank you, Mac Man. I appreciate that. And that's what I'm saying. Is like, it's one of the things that's so cool about this stuff, Joseph, is like, there's stuff that, like, for whatever reason, just I never came across in, all these years. Or you're always like, oh, people will talk about it, and you're like, yeah, I should definitely watch that. And you just like never get around to it for whatever reason. And then someone's like,
isn't it?
yeah, and someone's like, oh, you should watch this, and you're like, yeah, I probably should watch that. Yeah, like Dune Part 2 is like number 56. And it's just sort of like, it just seems high. Like, I don't know.
Dune Part
like,
2 is 56?
Yeah, Dune Part 2 is 56 and Raiders of the Lost Ark is 59. Which is it's just insane.
Where's Dune 1? Is that higher than 56 on your list? Just say that. You don't have to give me.
It's not on my list. This is on the on top 250.
Oh, the top
250.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Is like I've put my list away. We're not talking about my list till next week.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know why.
No, you're good.
That's crazy. They got Dune 2 above Dune 1. I don't think the second one's better than the first one.
Yeah, I don't either. Yeah, and there's other stuff in here. Have you ever seen?
I could probably see where people are coming from with that, but I don't know, man.
Did I put that in
higher than the first one?
Oh my gosh, is that? Oh no, it isn't here. Okay, cool. I was looking at a couple different movies. Have you ever seen Heat? Is
that with Mel Gibson and
No. It's Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, and they're bank robbers.
No.
Oh, Joseph. Okay. Yeah, dude. Oh, dude, Heat is like.
No, I'm not the biggest fan of Robert De Niro.
It's just a classic. They don't make a lot of like bank robber movies anymore, and Heat is like. I don't think it's controversial to say it's like the quintessential, like that's the one you watch.
I got you.
And then like maybe Breakpoint with Keanu Reeves, but that one's a little goofier. Okay, I'm gonna have to watch Chinatown, dude. Yeah,
how was Shawshank
Heat is so good. I don't know.
How was The Dark Knight number 3?
It's probably the David Lynch version of Dune. Let's see. Oh no, it started me all the way over. That sucks. I've gone.
No way, Spirited Away cracks the top 31.
Yeah, so I Spirited Away. I don't know if it's on my list yet. It will probably end up on there, because it's Miyazaki. It's probably Miyazaki's best movie. I got Jake and I watched it last year. He really liked it. It's one of those things. It's like people just aren't into animation, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately,
it's just like a very big like crater for a lot of people to get over. They're like, "Ooh, animation!" Like, and it's funny too because like a lot of people, they go every time they talk about animation now, they just go, "I'm not really into anime," and I'm like, "It's not." It's not the same,
That's not what it's.
The Tismy side of my brain's like, it's not the same thing. But it's like, I'm not going to sit here and explain this to you because I know you're not. I know you're not going to care. Huh?
Don't say Tismy now.
I'm allowed to say that. I'm on the spectrum.
We are the number one neurodivergent podcast in the universe.
Yeah, like something like Citizen Kane won't make my list because that's more of like it's like a film school movie at this point. Like you watch that because like that's the movie that helped people understand about like blocking better and different angles. Like it's not very good. Like the story's not that great. But it's like the movie. Yeah.
Kayla made me watch that one. She also made me watch Seven Samurai for 3.5 hours.
Oh, dude, Seven Samurai is long.
Yeah, dude.
There's some other versions of that I think are they're a little tighter. I don't know if I would necessarily.
It's not that it wasn't good, but it's just long.
It's long, yeah. What else is on here? I've actually never seen.
They have Jaws at 202. I'm surprised that Jaws is that low.
I know. I've actually never seen L.A. Confidential either. I don't think.
No way. They got Mad Max above Jaws.
Original Mad Max.
The newest one. Not Furiosa Road, but Fury Road.
Fury Road. I like Fury Road. I don't know if I would put it that high.
Yeah. I wouldn't put it above Jaws.
I've never really fully understood the hate for Fury Road. Like I get that Mad Max takes like a back seat in it, but it's a dang good movie, dude. Like I just can't hate it. There's watching it. I'm just, I think I watched it again last year after I saw Furiosa. And I was like, nah, this is good. I was like, I understand why people are kind of upset about it, but I was like, it's good. It's a good movie.
Yeah, man. My whole thing is I just don't see how you put that above Jaws.
Above Jaws, yeah. Well, it's like, it's the stuff that...
Or Deathly Hallows. There's no way Deathly Hallows Part 2 is better than Fury Road or Jaws. There is no way on God's green earth that is the truth.
Dude, like Top Gun Maverick is 146, so it's sitting above like No Country for Old Men, The Thing, Unforgiven,
no way,
Kill Bill
dude.
Volume 1. I think Prisoners is,
it was fine.
It's fun.
It's not that good.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. I guess that's where it kind of comes in because people are like, I had a really good time watching that, and you watch Prisoners, and then you're just like, oh, I need to protect children. Like it's different mentalities. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, gotta add that to the list. But yeah, man, we're a little over time. We can 1986. It's the right one, right? Yeah, perfect. So we'll talk about some more of these. We can just do it for like the last 15 minutes of the shows or whatever if we have time.
Yeah.
It can be our running segment at least for this year. We'll see how long it takes us to get through the entire list.
That's a good segment to do. Last 15 minutes.
Just kind of
talk about the list.
Just pop it in there. Get like 2 or 3 in there just to kind of talk about, because it's fun. Because then if there's stuff that you haven't seen, then it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I need to write that down.
To watch it.
Yeah, because I know you've seen at least half of the stuff that's on there, but at least so far. But yeah, there's quite a few gems in there, man. And people are so like, I guess it's so funny. It's kind of always been this way, but I'll tell people all the time, it's like, you need to watch this. And it's gotten easier because people aren't watching movies as much. So I'm literally sitting here going like, you've never seen Terminator 2? And they're like, no. I'm like, please go watch that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's always really funny. They're like, oh, I spent like 3 hours on TikTok last night, doom scrolling, and you're like, you could have watched Terminator, done something like that. That's crazy, man. All right, Joseph, is there anything else that you want to talk about before we close out the show?
No, sir. That is it.
All righty. Well, thank you all for tuning in to episode 200 of the podcast. It's been a long time coming,
yes.
And we're not going anywhere, and we're gonna do our best to get this thing rolling on, just the smoothest track possible, I guess. I don't know what I'm saying. It's late. I've been up since 4 a.m. But But yeah, we are really excited about everything, guys, and hopefully, like I was saying, I'll be able to get that Ocarina of Time stream going here soon, because I've been really wanting to play. And yeah, I guess until next time, y'all take it easy.
See ya.
Oh, gotta end the stream.